Welcome to the Money Manifestation Mastery Podcast with your host, Lara Waldman, where we talk all things money. Big money, big purpose, big power. Waking up your wealth for heart-centered business owners and entrepreneurs. In today's episode, we are going to alchemize your anger. How to turn your rage into riches. I'm going to help you work with your anger consciously and mindfully as a creative energy, a creative power to help you create the results that you truly desire. Let's dive in. I have been working with anger in one way or another for most of my life. I am no stranger to anger. Anger has been a very challenging emotion for me to work with and deal with. In my family growing up, there wasn't any room for anger. There wasn't a healthy expression of anger. In my house, anger was silenced, shut down, and suppressed, and would occasionally come out in moments. I learned at a young age that there wasn't any room for my anger, so I shut it down. But what happened was that my suppressed anger created ill health in my body. From the age of 8, I started to experience vaginal thrush, digestive issues, and I started to turn that anger against myself. When I entered my teenage years, I started to self-sabotage with drugs, alcohol, unhealthy sexual experiences, and eventually went into a deep, dark depression and developed eating disorders. I turned that anger in on myself as a form of self-harm. And from there, I went into the spiritual world. I started waking up spiritually and finding relief, finding peace through healing, through meditation, through spirituality. It was an incredibly powerful and important time in my life. But as well as growing and evolving spiritually, what I know now is I was spiritually bypassing. I was cut off and disconnected from a part of myself, and I was blissing out into these higher realms of consciousness. Don't get me wrong, it was beautiful and I learned a huge amount. There were incredible tools and techniques, but I had shut off from a part of myself. When I was working as a healer in my 20s, people used to come to me for anxiety, depression, grief, and when they were going through difficult life circumstances and they wanted help to navigate through those changes. One thing that was very interesting is, as a healer, when someone would come to me with depression, I never felt depression in their body. What I often found was suppressed rage, suppressed anger, suppressed energy. And in the session, we'd be working on unlocking that energy. And as we did, the symptoms of depression would change and transform. So I learned a long time ago that suppressed anger created problems through our physical health, mental health, and emotional health. But I didn't know how to clear it through my body. It has been my life's mission and intention to never consciously hurt or harm anyone. I have never wanted to hurt or harm anyone in the way that I have been hurt. So I have been fiercely committed and dedicated to working on my triggers, to working on my trauma, and to finding ways to heal and transform. But of course, triggers happen. Of course, life happens. Anger would come up with my young children. Anger would come up in my marriage. I couldn't get away from anger. And if I ever got angry, I'd feel really bad and go into shame and guilt and regret. And it wasn't until I started working consciously and mindfully with money that I found that my suppressed anger was creating a money block. It was creating a block to my wealth creation. And it was in that time that I started to learn how to work consciously and mindfully with anger as a creative power, rather than anger working unconsciously against me in forms of self-sabotage, where I squashed and suppressed my creative power. What I've found is that anger is like fire. It's not good or bad. Unheld fire can cause utter destruction. It can burn, it can kill, it can destroy. But equally, fire that's held and worked with consciously and mindfully can cook your food, heat your home, be something beautiful to look at in the form of a candle, or it can be something to sit around and enjoy looking at, like a fire pit or a fireplace. Fire needs leadership, just like anger. Anger is an energy. Anger is a power. So the question is, how are you going to use this power? How are you going to use this energy consciously and mindfully to create what you want in your life? So most of us can think of unhealthy expressions of anger, hurt and harm, violence, emotional violence, physical violence, sexual violence, psychological violence, verbal violence. There are many ways that unhealthy anger can create a lot of hurt and harm. But there are also healthy expressions of anger. And this is what I'd like to help you tap into, how anger can work for you, work with you as your great creative superpower. Healthy anger can ignite your inner flame, energize you. Your anger can help to focus you on what it is that you want. It can fuel that fire. Anger can burn down what is no longer aligned, what is no longer working for you, and bring to life what wants to grow. It's a protective energy and a creative energy. It's a life-giving energy, but it burns down what is a life-taking energy or a suffocating energy. It's incredibly intelligent, but it requires leadership. So what is your relationship like with anger? How do you experience anger? There are many people who are disconnected from their anger. They don't feel it. But what I've learned is that suppressed anger or unfelt anger still plays out, but it plays out unconsciously. It creates leaks, or it can keep you looping in the same old pattern over and over again. It pulls you out of your center. It pulls you out of your power. It can keep you overgiving, leaking your energy, focusing on things that aren't actually serving you. Suppressed anger can create ill health, physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's just lying beneath the surface in the unconscious. So this is why I love working with the symptoms of the pain, the problems. What is showing up in your life? And what is this pain or this surface level symptom or problem trying to show you? There are deep, rich levels and layers beneath the symptom, beneath the surface, that is calling you home. And there is incredible gold to mine for beneath the surface level symptoms. But some people do feel anger, but their anger might feel out of control, these out of control bursts of anger that can be hurtful and harmful. And many people self-medicate when it comes to their anger. They don't want to feel it, so they suppress it with drugs, alcohol, food, all sorts of ways that are very normal to numb and distract. Suppressed anger can lead to self-sabotage and conscious or unconscious forms of self-harm. So what I've learned is there is a great cost to unprocessed or suppressed anger. And if you can work with it consciously and mindfully, if you can learn how to alchemize that anger, there is so much power, so much gold ready and waiting for you on the other side. So I'd like to share my step-by-step process to alchemizing anger and some healthy ways to work with anger. Now, of course, there are many tools and techniques out there to support you. This is going to be a journey of exploration, of uncovering and discovering. And please know, it will be messy. It's not going to be a clean, straight line. Defrosting anger that's been suppressed or shut down is not going to feel good. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but that's part of the process. So what I would say is, make sure you're getting support with this. So if you're struggling with your anger, please reach out for support. Please get professional support, someone who is qualified and trained to hold you and support you with this process. So this is my step-by-step process to alchemizing anger, turning your rage into riches. My first top tip is to never take action from a reaction. If you get angry, if you get triggered, please go through this process before you do anything. Give yourself 24 hours to cool down. You want to take action from a calm, grounded, centered place. So that is my top number one tip. Hold back on sending that email or sending that text or reaching out to that person until you've done your inner work. So my first step is to stop. Before you take any action from that anger reaction, stop and create space. I like to call it sacred space. Space to process, space to alchemize your anger. And the next step is to give your anger a voice. What does it have to say? You can do this through journaling, through writing. Give yourself a chance to vent it all out. Everything that you want to say from that reactive, angry place. Get it all out. Write it out. Vomit it out. As you write, as you give your anger a voice, tune into, where do you feel this anger in your body? Feel into your body. Connect to your body. Where does this live inside of you? Anger also wants to move and to move through your body. So how does this anger want to move? So after you've given yourself space to write it out, to give your anger a voice, and you felt into your body, what kind of movement does your body want to do? It might be to go for a run, or do some vigorous dancing, or shaking it off, or going for a swim. Movement can be a very powerful practice to move this energy through your body. So you can do this alchemizing anger step-by-step process in whatever order feels right for you. You might want to first move your body, then stop and create sacred space to feel and to give your anger a voice. Or you may want to stop, feel, give your anger a voice, and then move your body. After you've moved through the initial reaction, that angry reaction, the next step is to dive a little bit deeper, to feel what is beneath the anger. So what is the feeling beneath the anger? I find that anger is usually a frontline defense, a protection against something deeper. Be with that feeling. What is there? I've personally found underneath my anger is sadness, loneliness, feeling all alone in the world, unheard, unmet, unsupported, feeling trapped and hopeless and despairing. It's a very deep, dark feeling. There's a lot of grief in there as well. Anger for me is often my frontline defense system against this deeper, darker emotion. So once you've connected to the feeling beneath your anger, now it's time to go and meet the unheard, unheld, unloved, unsupported parts of yourself. This part of you is living deep, deep down in the body, deep down in the root systems of yourself. You want to create space now to meet this part, to hear this part, to love this part. What do they need? What do they have to say? And go in and get to know this part of you. Your job is to meet your needs. Your job is to know what it is you need. Your job is to hear, hold, and honor yourself, first and foremost. This is going to help you come back to your body, come back to connection with yourself, and come back to your power. Alchemizing anger is also a process of transforming old trauma, old pain, old wounds that you haven't wanted to feel. That anger can burn away the old, transform the old if you work with it consciously and mindfully. So allow it to do that, because that actually is what it wants to do. But it's going to take you into a deeper, richer place of connection within yourself. And once you've met these unheard, unheld, unloved parts of yourself, and you've dropped even deeper beneath the anger, then we start tapping into a source of creative energy, where this fire starts to work for you rather than against you. It becomes a fuel that lives beneath you. This energy has a consciousness. It has an intelligence. And you can ask, what does this energy want to do? What does this anger energy want to create? What is this energy passionate about doing, changing, or transforming? What messages does it have? So we're taking this fire, this fuel, this creative power and intelligence from the depth of your being and allowing it to rise up and rise up through the body, to rise up all the way through your energy centers in your body, through the heart center. So we're alchemizing it through your capacity to love and connect and bring it up and out into the world as creative expression. And the practice is to focus this energy on creative potential, on breathing life into life, on birthing life into life. So anger gets alchemized into creative power, creative potential. We want to focus your anger on what it is that you want to create, focusing it on your fortune, focusing it on creating, on contributing and connecting. Focusing your anger on building the life that you want to experience. Focusing your energy into your future rather than leaking your energy into your past or present problems. Anger can be used to alchemize any pain, any problem, into purpose, into power, and into prosperity. So there are lots of creative ways to work with anger. It's important to get support. You might want to pay a therapist, for example, or do some body work. You might want to do some scream therapy, screaming into a pillow. I like to go swimming, going under the water and screaming into the water so no one can hear. You might want to go out in nature and shout out where no one can hear you. Get that energy moving. Get it flowing. Release yourself from the initial reaction and turn that anger energy into action. Taking that aligned action. So you're focusing your action on what it is that you want to create, the life that you want to experience, the business that you want to build, the finances that you want to create, the life that you want to experience. And if you're struggling to connect to the creative power of anger, the creative life force energy within this emotion, remember to connect to future wealthy you and tap into how are you with this emotion? How are you being with it? How are you working with it when the money's here? When you're financially empowered? When you've built the business, the life, the finances that you truly desire? Start tapping into future wealthy you who's figured this out already. Please remember this is deep, powerful, transformational work. It's going to be messy. There's going to be a lot of failure. There's going to be a lot of falling off the surfboard, tumbling through the tumble dryer of transformation. So go slow and steady, one step at a time. Working with anger, working with your power is a skill. Is learning to ride this incredible energy and learning to create with it consciously and mindfully. Most of us have not been taught healthy expressions of anger. Most of us have not been mentored in healthy expressions of anger. So you are unlearning and you are learning all at the same time. It took me a long time to learn this, to understand how to work with anger consciously and mindfully, how to alchemize anger into creative power and creative potential. I learned through a lot of trial and error, a lot of failure. So please be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself, and know there's always an opportunity to repair and to heal. And remember to get professional support if you are struggling with this. There is no need to struggle alone. Thank you for joining us for today's episode, Alchemizing Anger, Turning Rage into Riches. If you're enjoying this podcast so far, I'd so appreciate it if you could take a minute to review this podcast and make sure to subscribe or follow if you haven't already. And if you'd like to dive even deeper into this world of wealth, head over to my website, larawaldman.com, where I have a wealth of resources ready and waiting for you. I look forward to being with you again next time.